All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin. All right, guys, welcome back to the other side of the coin. What a time in the Premier League at the moment. I've got Tom from LeicesterFanTv. Leicester's absolutely buzzing. Obviously, they had a big win against Liverpool, cemented their position even more in the top four. But obviously, the top four race is cranking up. There's at least 8 different teams that are chasing for this particular 3 position. I think it's safe to say Man City's probably just run away with the whole league. But before we get to all of that, Tom, my man, how you doing?
As you said, buzzing. It was a hell of a performance at the weekend. I'm not going to sit here and lie. We rode our luck on numerous occasions against Liverpool, and first half hit the crossbar through Vards, and we're just thinking at half time at least it's 0-0, and to go then a goal behind, we saw a completely different Leicester, because 12 months ago we would have crumbled. This Leicester doesn't crumble now, and for some reason we pick ourselves up. We lift our shoulders high and we go again, and we got the result. Look, don't get me wrong, we got our helping hand on the way with VAR for the first goal, and
Alisson madness.
For some reason, the goalkeeper went for a wander out of his penalty box, but it's a cracking result. But like we were just saying before, and the results last night for West Ham and for yourselves, that's just made the top 4 now even more interesting.
Absolutely. We got Deep State. Welcome to the show, saying we are coming for you, Leicester. That's the message there from Deep State. But yeah, look, obviously this show, we're going to talk a lot about the top 4 race. We're going to talk about, the contenders for the top 4. But before I get into all of that, I want to really talk about a little bit about Leicester, because as soon as Leicester won, I thought about, bringing you on, Tom, and really exploring this Leicester's run, because I feel like they've really, I don't know how your fan base probably feels, but they might have just cracked open the traditional sort of top 6. I think they're really here to stay now. I really want to talk about that. And then obviously I want to talk about Ben Chilwell a little bit, because I know he's your boy from back in the days. And now with the different formation that we're playing, Ben Chilwell is not getting as much as minutes. And there's been some quotes that's been recently brought forward from Thomas Tuchel as well, which I want to explore with you. But first of all, Tom, Leicester, I believe, previously against Liverpool, you guys haven't really done that well. Am I right or wrong to say? I think previous matches you guys have been done by them, and this one up until 67th minute it was 1-0, and then you guys really turned it on right at the end. I mean, did you guys believe that you could probably turn this Liverpool team around for this particular match?
I'm going to sit here and say, I'm not going to sit here and say yes. I mean, it's doing the watch along on Saturday. I think me and Locks will both agree. It's about 70 minutes. We're looking at each other going, I just don't see where the goal's going to come from today. We hit the crossbar. We'd had a header well saved by Alisson in the first half from Vards, but we hadn't caused Liverpool that much problems. And then listening post-match to James Maddison interview, he actually says something quite interesting, that we changed our tactics. We went to a diamond, what caused Liverpool problems, and something they'd already planned to do in the game was to try and wear Liverpool down and then go to a diamond formation, push Harvey Barnes up next to Vardy with that extra pace and look for the balls in behind, hoping that Liverpool would then come out and go for it even more. And as I said, we hadn't had a good record. We'd lost the previous 4 games. We lost on Boxing Day last year, 4-0, got absolutely hammered. It was an embarrassment. I remember sitting there after the game thinking we were, 3rd or 2nd in the league flying, and when we had 2 poor performances against Liverpool and Man City on the back-to-backs, and the confidence was just drained out of the team. But this team, it's different. And we talk about, injuries with Liverpool. You've not had the moaning from Leicester. We've just got on with it. We've had Sancho, we've had Cassagna, we've had Fofana now, James Justin, who's been player of the season for Leicester.
Vardy was missing a few games in between as well.
Vardy's been out. Maddison wasn't fit at the beginning of the season and missed about 10 games in and out of the team because he wasn't fit or had this knee and hip injury. James Justin, who's now just done his ACL the last week, Wednesday against Brighton.
By the way, just quickly about James Justin, I mean, is that and for him for this season, is that done?
Yeah, he won't be back till November, I think they're saying at the earliest. 10 months, I think they're saying now, before he'll be back. What's an absolute shame for us, but even more gutting for him, because he was on the verge of an England call-up. He had to be in Southgate plans for the Euros because he was probably the best fullback in the country. But not all that.
Yeah.
It's his versatility that he can play right back, he can play left back, or he can even play in the back three or a centre back position and look comfortable. So it would have given Southgate one player but three options at any point. So to lose him for us is a massive blow. But I think what's good about Leicester, we just got on with it. You've not had any moaning about the injury from Leicester. It's just head down, we'll pick another player, we get on with it, we regroup. And like I say, 12 months ago, we would have lost to Liverpool. But this Leicester team, there's more spirit there, there's more fight. And I think there's a willingness that after last season with 14 games to go, when we completely blew it and lost the Champions League football, this season there's a determination that they had a chat in the summer, they got, cleared the cobwebs and got everything out in the air, say, look, this can't happen again. We're a good team, but let's not blow it and let's not, get into the same position and then, miss out again. So massive win against Liverpool. Like I said after the game, to go 6 points clear of the champions of England is massive at this stage of the season with 14 games to go.
No, 100%. And we're gonna talk more about that whole situation, about the injuries that you guys had, and you haven't been moaning at all. Salman Zaki, feel for James Justin, 100%, man. I think he was absolutely flying. But shout out to my man RJ. RJ's in the house. He's made a late inclusion into this particular video. He's one of my Aussie mates, so he's a local boy. It's 6:34 a.m. in the morning for us. So RJ, my man, how you doing?
Oh, thank you. What a warm introduction. And as they say, fellas, better late than never, right? And I won't blame the local internet connection, because that sounds like an excuse, and I'll probably take a leaf out of the Leicester book and just get on with it, as you said, Tom. And just on that, because I caught the last few minutes, and we have a little pod down here, which I'm not plugging, but I'm just saying from the Leicester point of view, we've been very impressed with how they just, like you said, they don't use excuses, and they rightfully could. And I saw James Maddison came out the other day and was saying something to the effect of, we also have our problems, but we just leave our talking on the pitch, essentially. And that's, I think, don't want to use the words elite mentality, but that's something, like you said, Tom, it's all about that character and just that ability to rise above externalities and just really bring together as a group to get on with the job. So, yeah, very impressive from the Foxes.
No, 100%. Absolutely well said, RJ. We will talk a bit, obviously, a lot about Chelsea as well in this. Just going back to Tom now, it's what you said, that you've had the injuries, you've not really moaned. I think how much of that is down to Brendan Rodgers creating a system, a style that it doesn't really matter who gets injured or not. I mean, of course it matters, but at the end of the day, I think he's trying to create a vibe where it's more the sense that let the system do the talking, and if anyone misses out, someone will basically plug in and just continue on with that whole process. Is that the mentality that Brendan Rodgers is trying to create?
Totally. That if one drops out, someone drops in, does the job. I think the thing with Brendan this year, and there's something Brendan's even grown as a manager this year. Last year against the big boys, we just went at it. We'd lose, like we'd say, we lost 4-0 to Liverpool. We lost 3-1 to Man City. We got trounced because we played such this, tried to keep a possession-based football. And against the big boys, you can't do it. Simple as that. Unless you're that good, like a Barcelona, who can pass the ball around for fun, you're going to struggle. Now, Brendan, we all know, is a possession-based manager, and he likes to have these teams to have the ball as much as possible. But what he's done this year against Arsenal, he did it well. Against Man City, he did it well. He's let the opposition have the ball and go, do you know what, we'll just defend. We will sit deep, we will defend tight, and then we'll use the pace of Vards, Tillemans, Albrighton, Harvey Barnes, to run in behind and cause people problems. Now, Brendan even admitted it's not his style of football. He doesn't like to do it, but he's also understood from 12 months ago where he made mistakes and that he had to grow as a team and as a manager. And so full credit has to go to Brendan for being an unstubborn manager, like we see in some of the division. Jose Mourinho, for one, being stubborn, that he will park the bus every game. Brendan is willing to change it up. And like I said, against Liverpool, he changed to a diamond formation that caused Liverpool all problems. They'd already planned it. It's good to see. It's good to see that Brendan's learning for this team as well. Not just the team, but Brendan as a manager is growing this season. That was fantastic to watch.
No, for sure. We'll get to the Chilwell talk a bit later on. RJ, let's have a quick look at this table. This table's starting to look so beautiful for us, RJ. As you can see, Man City, I mean, is it safe to say, RJ, that Man City's probably ran away with it?
Yeah, look, I'm a natural optimist, as you know, Miz, and sometimes I know probably people like yourself thinking, oh, RJ, step outside your delusional bubble for a moment, and I'm fully with it. But I'm very difficult to imagine a situation plausibly where City don't somehow win this title this season, just because they've been not just getting results and grinding them out, but they've been performing so strongly in the process. And I think that's what worries me. On top of their winning, it's also the squad depth that they have. Look how good Ilkay Gundogan's going. Who would have thought this guy here? He wasn't a passenger by any means, but now he's just like a phoenix that's risen out of the ashes to show us how world class he really is. So very impressed with City, I've got to say, as much as it hurts.
No, 100%. And with that, Kevin De Bruyne, you know, I thought they would have struggled, but as you said, Gundogan rising like a phoenix and taking over. So safe to say that Man City is well and truly, you know, probably setting the race alight over here. They're probably going to win the title. I know it's still quite a few games to go, but I think it is safe to say they're going to win the title. Tom, this is where it gets really interesting. From number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'd even go down to 8, 9. Probably, let's cut it at Arsenal. I don't want to include Arsenal in this mix. I feel like 36 points. I know 34, but 36 points is about. So where are we? Leicester's at 46. Man, yeah. So that's about 10 points away. So I feel like 12. I don't know. Should we include Arsenal in this mix? I feel like Tottenham. Up until Tottenham, it's probably well and truly on. Tom, what's your thoughts? I mean, as you can see, 46 points. Chelsea's on 42. West Ham's on 42. Liverpool, I don't think they're dead yet. Everton on 37. Aston Villa on 36. So there's and Tottenham as well on 36. Do you feel Leicester? You know, they can 100% put their hands on their heart and say, yeah, no, I think we've got this top 4.
No chance. Not a chance. I wouldn't sit and say that because of last season with 14 games to go when we came back for Project Restart and we blew it. You know, we chucked it away. You know, considering we were in the top 4 for all the season, bar 1 week at the end when we got knocked out. You know, it's I will never count my chickens again for this. You know, it's a long way to go. You go down to Tottenham for me. You know, and they're 10 points behind us, but they've got a game in hand, and it all depends if they win that game. They win the game, they go to 39. They suddenly leapfrog. You look at Everton, you look at Villa. They've got 2 games in hand, so you know they win their games. You know, don't get me wrong, Everton have got.
By the way, you guys got Villa next up, so that's one of the games that you can really block them.
A massive game on Sunday, 2:00 against away at Villa for us, you know. But we play Thursday night, so we've got 2 tricky ties. We've got Sparta Prague on Thursday first to get through, and then we got Villa away, you know, on Sunday. So it's going to be a long week for Leicester travelling wise. But you know, a win at Villa Park would be crucial for Leicester because that really would block Villa a little bit. Everton play tomorrow night against Man City, I believe. So again, you're crying out for a Man City win if we're honest about it. Because
you want Man City to just go out there and just beat everyone.
Yeah. You know, the league's gone for me now, so there's no point looking at that. You know, much as we're second in the league, to catch them now, you'd have to go on a run like they are, 17 games unbeaten, 18 games unbeaten, and hope they have a blip. But for me now, it is likes of Everton losing, West Ham losing. You know, these teams below it, because at the moment, you wouldn't even say Liverpool going to get in that top 4. If I'm honest, have a look at that top 4, I'd probably say the top 4 there now are the ones who could do it, with the possibility of West Ham sneaking in there. But it's between you and West Ham.
I feel like Man United's a bit of a suspect, Tom. I feel like they are a bit of a suspect.
I feel with Man U, if they go back to the Man U before Christmas when they're playing really well, then you know they get in there. But at the moment, they're hit and miss. Who's going to turn up?
Yeah, they're very rocks and diamonds. Very rocks and diamonds at the moment.
When they're on form, they're up there as one of the best, you know, good teams in the league. But at the moment, you just don't know which team is going to turn up. We've got them in the FA Cup in the next round. All the Leicester fans are grumbling. I'm like, if it's the poor Man U team, then you're laughing. You've got a chance to get into a semi-final and, you know, get to Wembley. But going back to even West Ham, who would have had at the beginning of the season after they lost 1-0, 2-0 on the opener of the season, they lost 2-0 at home to Newcastle. The fans were disgruntled. Moyes out already after one game, and all hell was breaking loose. But now look at them. They've sold the strikers as well, and they've only got Antonio up front, who's been probably the player of the season for them, and they're still fifth in the league. So you can't rule them out because they're on a good bit of form as well. So it is for me going to go down to the wire this one. This is going to be probably the closest top fours going into the final day of the season for me. That probably 2 or 3 places will be up for grabs on that final day if it carries on like this.
No, 100% agree. This is probably, I've never seen it so tight for a very, very long time. This tight for a top 4 race. RJ, looking at this sort of from Spurs, first of all, do you feel Arsenal is in the mix at all in this top 4 race, or do you sort of count them out?
Such a good question, because only a few weeks ago, as you know, it's all a conversation from Chelsea's point of view that is top 4 now starting to become a fading sort of target. And Arsenal as well, they were also putting themselves in the conversation again. But then, as this season continuously shows, it's a real roller coaster. You lose a few games, you're out of the fold. You win a few more games, you're back in the fold. So look, I'm very non-committal to rule them out, just because, all of a sudden Everton, Villa, West Ham, they lose a couple games, or ourselves, and all of a sudden the lead above Arsenal doesn't look as pretty as it does now. So I can't rule them out just yet, because like what Tom said, it's very topsy-turvy season.
100%. From your perspective, RJ, Liverpool, I mean, if what Tom said, if the top 4 looks like, Man City, Man United, Leicester, Chelsea, looks like it's quite promising and quite possible that it could end up like this. I mean, do you rule out Liverpool, the reigning champion? I mean, their form is unbelievable. 3 losses in a row.
Shocked. Totally shocked.
And I think some of these are at home. Burnley might have been at home, and also the last one. Manchester City was. I think that was at home. Leicester was away, obviously. But do you count Liverpool out from this top 4 race? I think some of the Liverpool fans are actually saying that they're not going to make the top 4, which I find a bit crazy. But what's your thoughts?
I think that's a bit overkill, because there's still 14 games go from their point of view, and you look at those 3 games. Let's break them down. The first one, they were all over Burnley, and Alisson conceded that penalty in the last couple of minutes. 1-0, they lost. Then the next game, they're versing a red hot or a blue hot Manchester City, and they get done like every other team that's getting done by City at the moment. And then the game against the Foxes, they were up 1-0, don't forget, and all of a sudden they had the utter breakdown in the last 20 minutes. So they've lost. The form guide says they've lost 3 in a row, but the individual context is they could have very easily won at least 2 out of the 3 had they had not those clangers that they did. So it's not to say the Foxes weren't good for their win in the end, because they showed great spirit. But as you saw, if the game doesn't take that wild swing that it did, maybe the points tally is not so bad for Reds. So definitely can't rule them out for top 4, especially with the amount of games remaining. That's my thoughts.
Nah, for sure. I agree with that as well. Tom, last time we played you guys, I remember I had you in the channel. You guys were buzzing. You were very confident that you do us one, and you absolutely did. The way Leicester played us off the park, honestly, that particular match gives me a bit nightmare. The kind of things that Maddison did and Vardy did against us, that was not nice at all. But since then, obviously, as you know, we've changed our manager. A new gaffer has come in, and we've gone, as you can see, our form over here, 4 Premier League wins in a row. I believe it's 5 altogether with the FA Cup victory as well. That's thrown in the middle of it. How do you feel about us at the moment? Do you feel we can go perhaps in front of you guys? And do you feel it's a different Chelsea now?
Massively different Chelsea. Massively. You look more organised at the back. You look organised in midfield. He's brought players back in who should be playing in their positions. You just look a completely different team. You're using Giroud better than he was before with Lampard. He was just a sub. You're now starting in more games. Timo Werner's starting to get a little bit of form. What we knew there was a good player in Timo Werner. No, we can't sit here and say he's not good enough. It's always difficult to come to the Premier League in just in such a short period of time. And he's just starting to get into that couple of games. He's just started to settle down again. And Thomas Tuchel put his faith in him. Said you're a good player, show you can do it. He scored last night. So these players now starting to play with confidence. By the way, there's no refund on Chilwell. We're not having him back. The 50 million's gone, mate. It's gone. There's no way we want Chilwell back. We got a nice replacement.
I knew you were going to give us that. Let's talk about this Chilwell situation. I'll get to RJ as well very soon. From my perspective, boys, I don't know. I think even before Thomas Tuchel, I was a bit suspicious about his performances from about early December till all of January, and obviously with now Thomas Tuchel in with playing 5 at the back, I'm not. Well, one, he's not starting enough. It's Alonso, and Alonso. Let's be honest with all the criticism that he gets. If we are playing with a left wing back sort of style, Alonso understands that more than anything. So. He's still not the greatest player, but at least he understands that role very well. And that's why he gets that opportunity. Chilwell, the couple of times he's played the left wing back so far, I don't think he's been good enough. His crosses has been letting him go. I'll go to RJ first to get Chelsea's point of view, and then I'm going to go back to Tom. RJ, what's your feelings? Recently, Thomas Tuchel has come out with some quotes saying that he's had the conversation with Chilwell, sort of telling him to trust him, sort of telling him that, just be patient, just to believe in him that, his time will come. Apparently, Chilwell seems to be a bit worried about his game time, and he's worried that the formation change might not suit him. Personally, RJ, I don't really like that kind of conversation coming from Chilwell, because I feel like you're our top dog in our club in terms of the left-sided sort of fullback player. You should be confident. You should go out there and train hard and really stamp your authority in training and put your hand up and say, Gaffer, I'm the main man. I don't care if it's left back or left wing back. I should be starting. He seems like he's a bit rattled, which I don't really find it very, very good at all in terms of mentality. From your point of view, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, you summed it up quite nicely. And I look at Chilwell and Tom, we don't want a refund, mate. Don't worry. We're still celebrating. Conte, which we pinched from you. We're not going to mention any. We're not going to mention any other centre mid that you may have sold to us. We'll never speak of it. He who shall not be named. But no, in all seriousness, with Chilwell, boys, I look at a player, and Miz, you picked it up quite rightly. He's been a player that's sort of fallen by the wayside. He's delivered a couple of glimpses here and there, but no sustained good performances for some time now. And it does concern me, but those comments also concern me. I do think from the, to use your phrase, the other side of the coin, I think it's just someone that's going through a little bit of a rough patch psychologically. And I think that's what sort of brings about those comments. But I also can understand his perspective in the sense that Tuchel's come in, he's brought about this new system, and yes, you're the main man as far as the left defensive position goes, but there are nuances between a left back and a left wing back, and make no mistake, he's the best left back purist that we have, but that left wing back gives a bit of life to people like Marcos, and I'm happy with what Tuchel come out and said, don't worry, you get your chances, and he's still quite young. They have invested a lot of money with him. It's just up to him now to sort of get his head down. Don't worry about talking too much and just focus on really learning those finer details of the left wing back spot if we're going to continue to maintain that style. But yeah, that sort of commentary, it doesn't really fill us all with confidence being Blues fans. But I just think that's just reflective of somebody that's going through a bit of a tough period and is just going to have to work their way out of it. Otherwise, our backup for now, Alonso, is doing an adequate job. So not panic stations just yet.
No, for sure. Tom, I recall the last time when you were here and we talked a little bit about Chilwell. And one thing you said that Chilwell last season under you guys, you had similar situation where when things weren't going the greatest for the whole team, he has also this sort of, I suppose, this attitude or this attribute that he goes under the shell as well. You mentioned that when Leicester weren't doing well, You know, he wasn't one of those guys that put his hand up and said, "No, I got to fight and I do really well. I'm trying to stand up for the team." He was also one of those players that just sort of went into his shell. I mean, is that what you're seeing right now under Chelsea? Does that surprise you any bit, or do you feel there is a player that's going to come out of it at the end of it and show that he absolutely will stand out and he will take over soon? I mean, what's your honest opinion on Ben Chilwell?
Honestly, I think there's a very good talented young lad there, but I think the problem you got is you summed earlier, he's a confidence player. And when his confidence is not well and he's not playing and he feels that, he's been benched, he doesn't bounce back. There's no like, I'm going to show you, like you're saying, Paul, I'm going to drag myself up. I'm going to show you why I should be playing every week. The problem you got, he's not a wing back. He's nowhere near a wing back.
Did you guys play any wing backs last season at all with him?
Not with him, no. We always played normally a flat back four because the way we play is he overlaps and gets into, for Barnes he was. And that's why we got caught out, because we had Barnes and Chilwell down that left-hand side, and it's very youthful. Having two, young lads down that side, we got caught out a lot of time because both would bomb on and no one would do the defensive covering. The thing with Chilwell is play him in a back four and he's not going to do too much attacking. He's not too bad. When he's got to go forward and then do the defending work, he gets caught out. His positioning can be, you can move him around quite easily. The opposition's team can, but as a wing back, he just hasn't got that aptitude yet. It's not his game. He's never played the position, and it's something he's got to learn. But if he wants to be the best and he wants to be that regular left back for England, what he could be, there is a good enough player there. He's got to he's got to stop this confidence thing and, like you say, go into manager and, but am I going to play? Well, just give him the reason to play. And I think that was the thing. The thing with Leicester is he left under a cloud because he wants to go. That's fair play. He wants to go to Chelsea. There's no called problems there. But now Frank's gone, it's all gone sour for him because he knew under Lampard that he was going to play. He was guaranteed that left back.
And you know what, Tom? He was probably Lampard's only his signing. There's been a lot of reports that have been coming out that we've got all these players like Werner, Havertz, and all of these guys, and everyone thought that all of these were Lampard signings. They actually weren't. The only one that was a Lampard signing was actually Ben Chilwell.
Now that manager's gone, he's now got to prove to the next manager why he's at the football club and why the club spent the 50 million on him and stuff like that. And sadly, at the moment, I just think Chilwell is just too young to understand in some ways that you can't sulk in this. In the Premier League, if you're going to sulk and mope, you're not going to get anywhere. You've got to, broad shoulders and get on with it. You look at the greats, Ashley Cole and stuff. When they have a dip in form, they bounce back and become better players for it. At the moment, I just think Chilwell's, it's just his age that for some reason he has a little bit of a knock in confidence, and he literally, like you said earlier, he goes into his shell and disappears on the pitch, and you're looking for this lad to show why he's there, and he doesn't.
Yeah, and not so long ago, you might recall, Miz, and unfortunately it happened to be to the club's detriment. Just a few short months ago, Chilwell comes out with that infamous quote saying, this is in the context of our run, our 17-game unbeaten streak, saying we feel we can't be beaten at the moment. And this sort of echoes that high confidence player. Things are going swimmingly. He's playing well, popping up with the assist and goals and helping at the back. But then, like you said, Tom, fast forward, A, we've not been playing so well. B, the guy who brought him in's just got the flick pass. C, the new manager's brought up a new system that caters for the guy who's the forgotten man, Alonso, who's now the man of the hour. And all of a sudden, when you put those things together, it makes for a very grim viewing from his point of view. And that just comes back to that natural psychological strength or lack of. And I think that's something where he's got to rise above that. Otherwise, the game's going to pass him very soon, unfortunately. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
No, 100%.
Can I ask you both a question? You've got two managers under Rodgers and under Tuchel. You've got one manager for me, Rodgers, who's very much about bringing in youth, developing them. Chilwell then at the back, he had Fuchs, he had Morgan, he had Huth in and around him. All this experienced players teached him the game, teached him as a defender where you need to be in developing his game. He then gets taken by Chelsea, and you got Lampard, who's a midfielder, who's not probably defensive minded as much. But do you think they even sit there and work on his defensive ability? Because since he's left us, I don't think I've seen a game and gone, he's got better as the defending side. I've seen him go forward. We saw that at Leicester. Going forward, he's great. At Leicester, he was developed into a good defender. But since he's left, I've not seen this defensive side as much. Do you feel that now Thomas Tuchel come in, he will work on that defensive side as much? Or is he another one that if he doesn't work out, he'll just go and buy someone who can play that role?
I'll go first and then I'll let RJ go on that. Honestly, Tom, here's what I saw. I saw him starting for us when he just, in the beginning parts of the season, and he was good all round. He was great going forward. He was great defensively. His aerial abilities for a shorter sort of player was fantastic to see how many aerial duels he was winning. But as the season was progressing and we were going through that bad form during December and January, honestly, I don't think he was that clinical going forward. And as you said, kept on getting caught in transition as well. Defensively, he was getting caught a few times, especially against that Man City game where we got dismantled so badly. And I know Man City has done this to almost everyone out there, so that's fair play to them. And I know Man City did that to you guys last year where Chilwell against Mahrez had a field day against Chilwell. But similarly, again, this season, that particular game, and not just that game, Arsenal game where we lost to the Arsenal C team, to be honest, not even their B team in Boxing Day. And they did an absolute madness on Chilwell as well. And then the game against you guys, luckily it wasn't a penalty. I think it was either given an offside or something like that. How he tripped over was a Vardy. I can't remember who it was. And it's clumsiness like that in recently as well against Sheffield, perhaps, or maybe it was a Burnley, Burnley, when it was another opportunity where he tackled, and luckily we got away with it without it being a penalty because it was offside.
Sheffield, yeah.
Sheffield, might have been Sheffield. I see these sort of things creeping up to his game where he's a little bit clumsy. He looks aesthetically, he looks very good. Athletic setup. He runs well. He's got that. Every now and then he's got that cross. Recently, I think the first time when we played Wolves, he put in a cross for Giroud header. So he has that, but he just doesn't have that consistency. RJ, is that what you're seeing as well from your perspective, where you see quality, but it's not consistent quality from that level of player?
Yeah, and I think it's just been amplified again under Tuchel because playing with the back three and the whole wing-back system, what that does is it doesn't really give Chilwell the opportunity to showcase his more naturally defensive qualities, and they're more looking for a balance between that attacking contribution, which he is subpar at this stage, versus someone like Alonso, who's a quasi left winger in his mind, but has that at least natural awareness to execute the defensive responsibilities of the wing back role. Whereas Chilwell is very much a fish out of water in that space at the moment. But for me, I just think given that he has had not as many minutes or games to impress under Tuchel, he's probably someone that's come in short of confidence, and he's delivering these moments of madness like that Sheffield where he almost conceded that penalty and was bailed out by VAR. But then you have the flip side of his game where in that very same game, not long after, he plays a key pass for Werner to square it back to Mason Mount to open up the scoring. So you sort of see both the Jekyll and Hyde scenario with Chilwell, but you nailed it on the head where we're just not seeing the consistent good quality. And I think that's just a function of that short of confidence at the moment. But I don't think it's alarm bells just yet, but it's definitely a watch this space for me.
No, for sure. I just want to wrap this Chilwell situation up. I want to get back into that whole top four situation. I just want to say that one thing that I don't see from Chilwell, and I would love to see from Chilwell, is that there's a saying, we say in Australia, there's that mongrel, that attitude, that grit that Ashley Cole used to have. Ashley Cole, he loved a good challenge. He loved to get. I still remember that sort of that 1v1 situation with Cristiano Ronaldo, which goes around in social media every now and then. How he marshaled Cristiano Ronaldo all throughout that game when Ronaldo was playing for Man United. And Ashley Cole always had that. He had that attitude, that mongrel in him, that he wasn't going to allow anyone beat him on that left side. And I just feel like Chilwell needs to have that attitude, that he needs to say to himself that I ain't going to it doesn't matter who your winger is, I ain't going to let anyone go through me in that left side. And when I bomb forward as well, I'm going to be just as attacking. And I feel like that's where he needs. I just want to see that grit in him. So let's wrap that up about Chilwell. I don't want to make the whole show about Chilwell, but let's get back into this top four. Tom, looking at this top four as we slowly start wrapping this show up, who are the ones right now? Obviously, you've got Man City, as we said, they're clear. Man United, Leicester, Chelsea, they're second, third, and fourth at the moment. But looking at this 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, as we said, Arsenal. Well, if you want to include Arsenal, let's include Arsenal. Let's not include Arsenal. from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Which particular team that you think has a very, very strong case to probably rattle? I mean, let's work this out. I mean, West Ham, how do you feel about West Ham? I mean, do you feel in the long run with the games remaining, are they actually a chance for top four?
I wouldn't say a chance. If honestly, the two I'd pick out of all that would probably be Everton and Liverpool. I think they're the two will be fighting out. I think Villa will just come a little bit short. I think West Ham will, sadly dip away towards the end just because they haven't signed another striker. And if Antonio's not fit, when you play some of the bigger teams, I can see them struggling. Everton, well, we know hit and miss at home. They're not the great, but on the road, they've got a fantastic record like most teams this season. And as for Villa, well, what you say, they win their 2 games in hand, they're into the top 4 and they're only, 3 points behind us. It's massive. These games in hand now will be the crucial turning point of the season for me. If they win their games in hand, they go into that top 4. If they both lose the games in hand and other teams around at the top pick the points up, then obviously this top 4 would slowly go into a top 6. And, it's a fight then quite quickly. And we're only talking a couple of games here. 1 or 2 games and that top 4 will break away from the rest. And at the moment, I like to say anything between Aston Villa and Everton, I think could go into that top 4 for me. I think Tottenham are just too hit and miss. And I think the fans will start turning on Jose quite quickly soon if they get another loss.
That form is horrendous.
1 win in 5 is awful. With the team they've got is awful. Everton, again, you saw the other night losing to Fulham. Can't say much. Leicester lost to Fulham as well. So, again, it's all this season in a whole, mate, with the COVID and no fans in the ground and more away wins than home wins and everything like that. It just shows you what an incredible season it's been. Let's not get it wrong. We're only talking 5, 6 games ago, and Southampton were in the top 4.
Well, Southampton was first for like a couple of hours.
They've lost 6 games in a row, and now look at them. They're 13th or 12th, something like that. They're 13th in the league, and they've lost the last 5 games, 6 games. So it just shows you lose a few and you drop down quite quickly because the points are so close. But so for me, Everton and Liverpool, I think will be up there fighting at the end of the season, and it's going to be an exciting ride. It really is.
No, for sure. RJ, who out of these bottom sort of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, let's if you want to include Arsenal as well, who sort of you think still is a major shot for this top 4? Obviously, you've said Liverpool, but anyone else out of this lot that you think, we need to just be wary of them?
Yeah, firstly, I'd like to say how inclusive you are, including Arsenal in on there just for being nice. So good work. Credit to you.
To all those Arsenal fans out there, just being nice.
That's right. We're not so bad. But no, in all seriousness, though, I think the way you articulated your logic there, Tom, made a lot of sense to me. I look at Everton and I just think they're scraping the points, but over the last 5 to 7 games, they've been very unconvincing with their displays and are playing pretty... With the team that they have and the way they started the season, I think they've sort of just been straggling by a little bit. I do think that the next couple games are going to be a bit more of a telling sign about which way they're going to head towards the rest of the season.
Versus Everton. Next up is Liverpool versus Everton.
Yeah, 2 teams to me, like obviously Liverpool's in worse form quite clearly, but as I was saying, Everton's not been great themselves. I do think Everton's a bit more clutch with Calvert-Lewin, etc. Yeah. But I do think, though, for me, seeing what I've seen with Liverpool lately, they are still having moments where they're playing games as they were champions, but then they're playing games as if they were fighting out for relegation. So it's just really which part of which Liverpool team's going to turn up to that game. Personally speaking, I think that they'll probably get the job done against Everton, but I can also see Ancelotti going away with a smash and grab. So it's just really a tough one.
No, 100%. Yeah, I think a draw would be perfect in that particular match, that Liverpool Everton Merseyside derby. I'll take a draw on that and let them drop more points. As we've said, Leicester's playing Aston Villa, so hopefully Leicester can. Well, you know what? For our sake, I want Leicester to lose so that we can actually keep going further up.
Exactly.
From your point of view, I wanted to ask this question earlier on, Tom. Obviously, you guys got that Europa League match coming up, which is, I believe, Thursday night for you guys. Yeah, Thursday night, which will be Friday morning for us. And then you've got the Aston Villa game. When's that happening, by the way? Aston Villa
Sunday. So we got Sparta Prague at 6 o'clock our time kickoff.
Right.
And then we play on Sunday at 2 o'clock. So
wow, so you really have Friday and Saturday, 2 days to recover until that really big match.
Leicester to the Villa ground is literally an hour up the road, an hour and 20 if max. So it's not like it's a far travel. So they've got plenty of time to get sorted if and prepared for the game. But look, the boys, I think Brendan will already be prepared for that game. He'll already know what he's doing for the Villa game. They talk about one game at a time, but football managers they've already got the tactics and they know where they'll be working on, 100%. What they'll be doing before they even get to this game. So we'll get Thursday out of the way. It'll be a tough game. They won at the weekend 3-0 at home.
Which one would you prioritise, do you reckon? Do you prioritise the Villa game a lot more than the Europa? Or do you guys honestly think Europa is a particular cup that you could potentially go further and I don't know, mix it up and win it?
I think you've got to keep it. They're both equal for me because you've got an opportunity with that cup if you get through to win it, and if you win it, you're in the Champions League. You're guaranteed a Champions League spot. So you want to stay in it as long as you can because the further you go, you suddenly have a little dip in form in the Premier League, but keep winning that UEFA Cup game or Europa League. Suddenly before you know it, you get to a final and you could be in the Champions League anyway, and you're not then got to worry about where you finish in the league. So for me, prioritise. They've both got to be equal measures, and I think Brendan's done well this season with mix and matching the team around depending where we've been on a Thursday night on these long trips, as you know for playing in the Europa League. You get some long ties and long.
We don't want to talk about the Thursday nights.
We want to get back to Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll tell you that now.
It's such a delicate balance, though, isn't it, Tom? Because I know when Chelsea, not to sound big-headed, but when we were sort of competing and trying to get back into Champions League, and it's trying to strike that right balance of having the Europa League as the insurance policy, with the primary target being top 4 to definitely confirm that fate. And obviously, a league's a better barometer of your overall success. But you're right. I think you do need to treat those priorities equally. But the good thing is, if you do have a bit of a shortfall in the league, you can always default to sort of go progressing in the cup. But at the same time, you don't want to have the cup because that's obviously a very finite thing, i.e. if you lose that, you're all out. So you need to focus on the league as well. So it is a fine balancing act, isn't it? So.
No, 100%. RJ, I want to now ask you, similarly for us as well, we've got Southampton, I believe, Saturday night for us, which will be Saturday afternoon. But then we've got Atletico Madrid coming up Tuesday night for UK people and obviously Wednesday morning for us. There's a lot of talk in the live chat at the moment about Hakim Ziyech and Pulisic and whatnot. I mean, I feel like, I know Leicester's got their depth in order to probably negotiate between the two matches of Europa League and the league game against Aston Villa. They've got some injury concerns, but at the same time, they don't have a bad depth either from their perspective. We've got the depth as well, but I feel like some of our players like Pulisic and Ziyech, this is the time, right? Do you expect some sort of rotation happening against Southampton game and then moving into the Atletico Madrid, we could probably see a different team?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's partially attributed to the recent good form we've had in the league to give us or give Tuchel that flexibility to maybe experiment with some of those bigger names that haven't featured as much. I do think, though, for the Atletico game, we'll probably have more of a settled squad in the sense that we have been seeing Tuchel pick a core group of players that we're familiar with and have been delivering under him since his arrival. But then again, I suppose Tuchel, as we know, he's someone that's not afraid to change things up based on the opponent. So it'd be a brave man to be able to pick which sort of system and setup he's going to have for that Atletico game, because even though we've been playing quite well, none of the teams we've played are quite Atletico Madrid. So it'll be quite a fascinating clash. Yeah, but definitely a chance for Ziyech and Pulisic, I reckon, to stake their claim to maybe be noticed for the Atletico game for sure.
No, 100%. I feel, yeah, we've got the depth to take care of the Southampton game, and then hopefully we field a strong team against Atletico. I'd like to see players like Ziyech and Pulisic really take care of Southampton, perhaps, and then against Atletico we can revert back to the team that's been doing well and the players that are actually on form at the moment. Players like Kai Havertz is going to be so important during this upcoming month of March, which is an absolute madness for us. We've got Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, I believe, at the end of March, Man United, Everton. So lots of heavy games. But, boys, let's wrap this up. Tom, it's been a pleasure having you. RJ, obviously, it's been a pleasure having you. Tom, looks like from your fan base, you guys are very, very confident that top four and Champions. By the way, just quickly, if you guys get Champions League football, I mean, has there been talks as to what are some of the targets you guys are looking at, some players that you guys want to bring into Leicester next season?
There's always talk in there. I think we'd love to have Messi when his contract's up at the end of the year, but we'll not be able to afford that. But
I'm down about the Messi talk.
But let's be realistic. Look, if you get to the Champions League, what we did a few years ago, we blew it. And I think Leicester fans will also say we blew it. We signed Slimani, we signed Ahmed Musa, these players who no one had ever even heard much about, bar Slimani being a world beater in the Portuguese league. Musa was doing well in Russia. We didn't really spend our money wisely from winning the Premier League. And I think that's something that's always hurt Leicester fans. We won the league and then we blew it on our signings, spending 30 million and 15 and 16 million on Musa. And it was like there was players out there for me at the time who'd been in the Premier League, I think would have been better options. And we didn't get it right. So I think this year the club have evolved so much since then. And we've got such a great scouting network and being able to find the right players at the right prices and the right build and right fit for the team, because Rodgers has the way of fitting these players in. So look, there's been names dropped, but obviously there's realistic targets for the club and where we're at, and Champions League football will bring that opportunity for me. The revenue from that is massive for a football club the size of Leicester. No,
for sure. What particular positions that you guys would be looking into that you feel that you guys need a bit of a backup?
I think the main one, and we all know it's a striker. We need a replacement. There's only Kelechi and Nacho and Perez, but Perez for me is more of a 10. And when he plays 8, see the best of Perez. When we play him wide, you don't see it. And look, we all love Vards. He's 34. He's not getting any younger. We might get a couple more seasons out of him, but let's be realistic. We need someone to come and help him now. The games where we don't play and he doesn't play in the team, we struggle, and we've seen that most of the season. When he doesn't play, Kelechi does all right, but it's not Vardy, and you need someone to come in and the mould of Vardy, who does the same kind of runs, to really help us. So the striker is the main option for the summer. Rodgers admitted that that's the main priority for the summer, to go out and get these strikers. So look, it's going to be an interesting summer, but for us to get the Champions League football first. But thank you once again for having on, and it's been a great talking to you guys.
No, 100%, man, 100%. RJ, thank you so much for taking your time this morning and coming along. I'm sure you've got work to head off to. I've got work as well, but I'm from home. But RJ, some final words before you go, my man.
I really appreciate the chat, guys. It's been very enlightening for me. Tom, it's good to talk to a rival fan and get some perspectives from yourself and about the top 6 as well as our club. So keep it up, mate. Great work. And Miz, let's just hope our guys get a confidence-boosting win heading into Atletico, because we need the Tuchel train to keep us going full steam ahead.
Absolutely, man. We get this train going. Don't worry, we're taking over Leicester very soon. Leicester, we're coming for you guys. We are coming. And then Man United to take over.
Can you remember the last team that started singing "We're coming for you"? What happened to them?
They did not go well for them. But it's not going to happen the same thing. It's not going to happen.
In a 2-horse race. Remember, they finished 3rd in a 2-horse race. So
absolutely. You guys are buzzing. I'm not going to take that away from you. But guys, thank you so much for everyone that's joining, and thank you to everyone that's going to watch the show later down the track. I will have Tom back again when we do meet Leicester down the track. I think that might be a cracking show, because if the race continues like this, maybe that might just come down to that particular match as to who gets into top 4. So we'll look forward to that. Guys, thank you heaps. Until next time, see ya.